Sometimes you need to be able to walk a mile in another person's shoes in order to appreciate things from their perspective. And I am learning that since doing DoorDash and Uber Eats and stuff. In my own head, I had this preconceived notion or idea about DoorDashing and Uber Eats until I started actually doing it myself. And I just want to share some things that I have learned. I have learned that DoorDash and Uber Eats drivers are not employees of said platform. They are contract workers. They will receive a 1099, and this is what allows them to be somewhat selective about the orders in which they take, because it needs to make financial sense for them. And so that has been interesting to learn for me, because I made the assumption that when you order through these platforms, that they're receiving a significant amount of the funds in terms of the service fees or the delivery fees, but that actually is not the case. So don't quote me, but I think for DoorDash, they must receive at least $2 per delivery. I am not 100% certain about that, but I believe that to be the lowest pay that they will receive per order, and anything additional is like based on maybe peak pay, which can sometimes be $1 or an extra $1.50 an order, what have you. And that is also determined by like the time of the day, whether it's breakfast or lunch or dinner. But there's a heavy reliance on tips, and I don't think I fully understood that, being on the other side of it. So basically a DoorDash driver, Uber driver, or whatever platform they're driving for, they're basically couriers. The platform connects the driver with a person who is seeking their services by driving to and from places, receiving services or goods. And it also connects the consumer or the customer with a person that is able to receive said goods for them. So again, that was interesting to learn. The other thing is, a lot of times when these drivers are picking up goods like from restaurants, there's no way for them to really validate what is in your bag. When the driver arrives to pick up your food or whatever it is, most of the time those bags are sealed for safety and security reasons, which I think is a good thing. At most, the driver is able to ask the person at the restaurant or the establishment, hey, are these things in the bag? And a lot of times, those at the establishments will say whatever's on the receipt, that's what's in the bag. But there's truly no way for the driver to validate that. The driver is at the mercy of the establishment. The other thing is, I know for me, and I can only speak for me, like if I see on the app that an item is marked as frequently being missing, I try to find someone to say, hey, I see that this is a frequently missed item. Is this in the bag? Or do you mind if I collect, a couple extra of this or whatever in a separate bag to provide for the customer? And sometimes they're open to it. Sometimes, they'll just say it's already in the bag. So with that being said, I feel like I have a full appreciation for customer as well as driver, and seeing how these apps and platforms work now. Because prior to this, again, I did not have that full appreciation. But aside from that, I do not think this is a bad part-time or side hustle. However, I have seen some people who do this full-time and do really well with doing it. As most of you know, I already have a full-time job, but I am really enjoying it as a part-time job as well because it gets me out of the house. It allows me to see and discover parts of my city that I didn't even know exist. I am seeing establishments I had no clue were even out there. And admittedly, I'm in an area that's heavily government and military populated. So for the most part, I would like to say I do really well with doing this part-time. And I do it without having to beat up my car per se. I can stay within the 8 to 10 mile square radius and make what I think is a decent amount of money doing it as a side hustle. In this economy, are you guys finding that you're needing to pick up multiple streams of income, or have you picked up multiple streams of income just to be on the safe side? Not to be, a doom or gloom person, but, we've seen the job market rapidly change. And so, I thought, well, this job market is so fluid right now. I better find a different or another stream of income to bring in some additional income in case of an emergency, not to live in fear, but more as let me be prepared in the event that something should happen. Let me bring in something, additional. How are you guys doing? Are you guys able to sustain yourselves? Just asking, trying to get a feel of how everyone's doing. And with that being said, I'm not going to ramble on. I just want to share some things that I've learned and check in because I know it's been a while and I hope everyone is doing well. And as I go through this journey, I will be sure to share if I find out anything interesting or something that I feel could be helpful to others. I will share that as well. But like I said, this was more of a check-in and sharing. And I hope you guys are doing well. And we will talk again soon. Bye.